this regime is preparing a genocide. We know this regime is capable of doing it. We know this regime has done it before. And we saw this regime do it. It was simply like a test. So, and we can hear this regime. We can see what's happening on the ground. What do you expect from a government that has a full army, over 100,000 people, but that decides that about 10 or 20% of the army is going to have munitions? And just like that, those 10 or 20% of the army having or receiving munitions are all from one region or two regions.
Ladies and gentlemen, you're welcome to the Beyond Africa podcast again with me, your host, Ngalim Bernard. We are still in Cameroon, post-election period. Tensions are high. Maintains his victory. But Paul Biya, sworn in by the National Assembly after the Constitutional Council declared him winner, insists he must carry the nation forward. In his speech, he threatens the diaspora and says order must reign. With my guest today, we are going to explore the possibilities available to Issa Tchiroma Bakary and whether Paul Atanganji and Paul Biya's threats mean anything to anyone who believes that Cameroon is at the crossroads and human rights are terribly violated. Should the diaspora be quiet, or should the diaspora take its responsibility into its hands? Issa Tchiroma warned Paul Biya that if he does not release all political prisoners, all those arrested because they were manifesting their rights within 48 hours, he is definitely going to pass into self-defense. And he called on Cameroonians to mobilize themselves to release their brothers, sisters, daughters, sons, and friends who have been detained by Paul Biya's government. So in this episode of the Beyond Africa podcast, we are going to talk about these and other revelations by my guest, Ben Modo. Ben, you are welcome to the Beyond Africa podcast again.
Thanks for having me.
I look at you into your face and I see some fatigue. Do you get any rest at all?
Yeah, I mean, it's no big deal. It's just part of the work.
Because I don't feel the amount of energy I should have loved to put into this introduction. I just think I am not yet up to it. But I know it's because it's still very early morning for me and my system is not yet hyped for the day. Yeah, so many Cameroonians were wondering where Issa Tchiroma Bakary had disappeared to. He was silent after he announced phase 3, and phase 3 was successful, but then he went quiet. And yesterday he came out very forcefully in a speech in which he warned the government of Paul Biya to respect the results from the ballot box, withdraw from the presidency, and release Cameroonians. Else, he's going to get into the next phase, which is self-defense. What do you make of that speech as a whole?
Well, Bernard, we discussed this many times, and our view has always been that it will come to self-defense. Because knowing who is on the other side, there is nothing to expect from Mr. Biya. There is nothing to expect from Mr. Ngongo, Mr. Ayolo, Mr. Frank Biya, or Mrs. Biya. So they are wired differently. They are not reasonable people because reasonable people don't take a peaceful country given to them in 1982 by Mr. Ahijo and turn it into a war zone where you basically are already fighting two wars. There is a Nozo war, and then in the far north, they are not able to deal with Boko Haram. And the international community, national and international communities, should understand that there is only one person or one group of people responsible for the disruption of peaceful life in Cameroon, and that is the Biya's regime. They are unable to run the country as they should. The fact that young people in Cameroon are entertaining the idea of joining Boko Haram or ISIS is due to the fact that Mr. Biya has been unable for 4 decades now to create jobs. How do you stay in office for so long? And then there is so little done, almost nothing done. And so they don't want to understand that Mr. Biya has failed, his regime has failed, and that it's time to let the people self-determine, because the Cameroonian people are able to run themselves. The system has to be right, and the people have to be right. And it cannot happen with either Mr. Biya, his members of his regime. They are not the solution. They should not see themselves as the solution going forward. They can only cause problems. And there is one major problem they are currently creating. It's that they are currently preparing for a genocide. In the Cameroonian army, you have a government, a failed government, that is choosing to give munitions to about 10% of the armed forces of Cameroon. And the determination of those who should have munitions is based solely on where they're coming from, their origin. If you're coming from the southern part of the country, the south region of the country, then according to Mr. Biya and his regime, you are eligible to have munitions.
Ben, is genocide not a strong word to use here?
There is a genocide going on there, and there is no other way to describe that.
A genocide against which people? I think the 1948 Convention of the United Nations describes a genocide as directed against a particular group of people.
Exactly.
So who is the particular group of people that is targeted in Cameroon?
Okay, now you have to understand how Mr. Biya has been able to rule Cameroon all this time. How has he done it? Number one, he's installed corruption to make sure that everyone has a price in Cameroon. So that's a policy of the Republic of Cameroon, is corruption. So that's number one. But more importantly, number two is to make sure that everything is conducted based on a tribal basis. So he's divided the country in ethnic groups. So you have people from the south region and to some extent the center region. So he made sure that most people in the army are from those two regions. Why? Because he believes that they will be the ones more capable or most capable to protect him against any challenge.
But I think the infantry is mostly populated by people from the north. I think is it not the hierarchy that is mostly populated by people from the tribe?
You have infantry is mostly populated by northerners. That is true. But then you have other units. They call elite units, and those units are mostly populated by people from the south and part of the center regions. So what is Mr. Biya doing? Mr. Biya is refusing to arm the full army. So they have arms, but they don't have munitions. So he's not giving munitions to the rest of the army. He's giving munitions to soldiers that are coming from the south and part of the center region. Why? Because he understands that he lost within the army. He lost so badly. It was a landslide. Over 69% of the people within the army decided to side with Mr. Tchiroma. So he has no confidence as we speak that he knows he cannot trust them. He thinks he cannot trust them, and he believes that if those soldiers coming from other regions of Cameroon are given munitions, he believes that they could use those munitions to overthrow him. So what does he do? He doesn't give them munitions. He gives munitions only to those soldiers coming from the south and some part of the center region. He gives them munitions. And we saw that about 10 days ago. What happened 10 days ago? Cameroonian people took it to the streets to say, hey, enough is enough. They manifested peacefully. We saw a group of people, when the army intervened, we saw some soldiers within the army using real bullets and killing Cameroonians. The official tally says it's about 40, 50 people. But the reality is that over 200 people were killed. Over 2,000 people have now been arrested. And when you look at the list of those who fired those bullets to the people, hey, what do you see? You see 90% of them are coming from the South region. 90% of them. And when you talk to soldiers, in general, they are surprised because they know that no one has bullets. They tell us no one has bullets, so they don't know what happened for people to start dying. It's later, after investigation, that we discovered that Mr. Biya decided to give munitions to a part of the army, those soldiers that are coming from the south and part of the center region. This tells us that this is a clear plan. This is a planned genocide. They are preparing for something, and they want to make sure that only people coming from their zones, their regions, have munitions. And we saw that in 1994. We saw that.
I want to corroborate what you just said about the individuals who were shooting to kill during the demonstrations. Some of my sources have also told me confidentially, who are in the military, that those who had munitions to kill on that day and those who were actually shooting to kill were people from the same region. He didn't identify the specific region, but that is what he said. Yeah, he didn't identify it to me, so I won't say what he didn't say. When I asked, he said, "Just understand." So I just decided to say, "Okay, I won't understand."
Yeah, and that's what I got. So when we look at that, and we look at even if you go to the headquarters of the Cameroonian army, even the meetings taking place there, the people who used to be part of those meetings are no more part of those meetings simply because they are from the west, they are from the Nozo region, they are northerners, and those meetings have now been reserved only to people coming from the south and part of the center region. This clearly tells us this regime is preparing a genocide. And that's the reason why we are so clear in that. Because we hear them talk, they say what they want, they do what they want, and we know this regime has done it before. 1984, they pretexted a coup, and they took that as a pretext to kill Northerners. Thousands of Northerners were killed. Many thousands more were arrested. Mr. Tchiroma himself went to jail because of that. Someone who has nothing to do with what was happening was simply arrested because he was from the North region. He was sent to jail without due process. He spent 7 years in jail, and he's not the only Northerner who went through that. Thousands of Northerners went through that. Thousands of Northerners were killed simply because they looked like a Northerner. That's what a genocide is. And we know this regime is capable of doing that. How do we know that? 10 days or 2 weeks ago, we saw that happen. We saw them fire bullets at people who did not have guns.
So Tchiroma, in his speech yesterday, he said all Cameroonians have their backs today against the wall, confronted with a life-threatening threat coming from this unlawful, dictatorial, state-based terrorism, state-based gangsterism against the people. And he goes further to mention that because this dictatorial regime has decided to operate ethnic cleansing, political cleansing, and regional cleansing, the situation is unbearable and unacceptable. Are you reading from the same script with Tchiroma, or are you doing your own independent analysis to arrive at this conclusion that there is a genocide in Cameroon? Because his language seems to
analysis is totally different. Our analysis based on what we see on the ground, what we hear from people on the ground, and what we see people on the ground doing. So when we look at all those things, we look at all those facts, I mean, that can only lead to one conclusion. This regime is preparing a genocide. You can see it in the approach and the methods, the techniques that are used. They are so similar to what was used in Rwanda in 1994. And we can see that in Rwanda, people sat back, did nothing until it was too late. And in less than 100 days, 1 million people lost their lives. We cannot look the other way this time around. We know this regime has done it before. I just mentioned in 1984, thousands of people from the northern regions were killed or disappeared. Thousands more were arrested, spent years in jail without due process. We saw it 10 or 2 weeks ago, 10 days or 2 weeks ago. We saw this regime kill Cameroonians.
So
and
Ben,
they kill, yes,
Ben, to whom are you addressing this alert, this genocidal alert? Are you addressing it to Cameroonians, or are you addressing it to the international community who should be aware of what is happening?
To Cameroonians and the international community. So we are saying it, and we are saying it plainly. This regime is preparing a genocide. We know this regime is capable of doing it. We know this regime has done it before, and we saw this regime do it. It was simply like a test about 10 days ago. So, and we can hear this regime. We can see what's happening on the ground. What do you expect from a government that has a full army, over 100,000 people, but that decides that about 20% of the army is going to have munitions? And just like that, those 10 or 20% of the army having or receiving munitions are all from one region or two regions.
You are making this very strong point, and your argument is valid in the face of the fact that history justifies your findings or your claims. So what do you expect of anyone listening to you, say from a Cameroonian or from members of the international community? What do you expect them to do?
First, the international community. We are asking them to help, to come and help the people of Cameroon, because Mr. Biya is not the solution. He's the arsonist. He's the one preparing that. He's the one who did it before. He's the one who is currently preparing for that genocide. And we believe that Mr. Biya has to go now, because it may be too late in a few weeks. It may be too late. It will certainly be too late in the next few months. So they need to intervene now. That's number one. And that's for the people in the international community. They need to understand that it's urgent for them to come to the rescue of the Cameroonian people. Now, to Cameroonians in Cameroon, we want them to understand that help is on the way, and that we will not rest until we make sure that this regime is harmless, that this regime is put in a position where they are no more able to harm the Cameroonian people. Now, to Cameroonians overseas in the diaspora, we tell them, hey, listen, we need help doing this. This is not a one or two person's deal. This is something that concerns all of us, and we are calling for their help. You know, as we speak, we have so many people, over 10,000 people standing ready to go to work for the Cameroonian people. But our logistics can only cover less than 2,000 of those people. So we need help. We need help quickly, because time is of the essence as we speak. So we tell them, okay, listen, there are links out there that were created. We need help, and we need help now. It's happening now. We are talking days. We are talking hours. We need to make sure that this regime is out, and we need everyone's help.
Thank you, Ben. As you were talking, I remember that I have this book that is written by Joyce E. Leader. From the book is titled "From Hope to Horror: Diplomacy and the Making of the Rwanda Genocide." She was the U.S. ambassador in Rwanda at the time of the genocide. I met her, we spoke about it, and she told me about why she wrote this book. In the book, she says, this book took shape over many years. Opportunities to speak about the origins and the lessons of the Rwanda genocide kept me engaged and thinking about where we as diplomats in Kigali had gone wrong. So in our conversations, she tells me that there were signs about the Rwandan genocide, but they as diplomats kept playing diplomatic games, talking diplomatic niceties. And as soon as the genocide had started and many people started dying, that is when it dawned onto them that they might have, or they could have done something earlier than they did.
Yeah.
Which takes me to your point on calling on the international community to remind them that they have a responsibility to play here. I just asked you if you and Tchiroma are reading from the same lens or from the same hymn book, and you said no. Tchiroma used almost similar language. He just fell short of calling it a genocide. He calls it ethnic cleansing, political cleansing, and religious cleansing. All these ingredients are present, according to what you said, and also according to the sources that I have had. So at this material point, let us focus a little bit on the international community. If they were to do something, because genocide, I want to make a caveat here. When you accuse somebody of genocide or excessive torture, that becomes an international crime, crimes against humanity, which falls out of the jurisdiction of the local courts and the local legal system. So it goes to the international community. We are not in any way asking the international community to come in and solve Cameroon's problems. I think Ben is saying that the international community should prevent this regime from committing crimes against humanity, genocide, which are crimes that fall within the jurisdiction of the international community. Did I get that right, Ben?
Yeah, that's exactly what we are saying. We are not telling them, hey, guys, come over and do the jobs Cameroonians should do for them. No, that's not what is being asked. They need to step in. They have ways to put pressure on this regime to make sure that this regime steps down. There is nothing to expect from the Biya's regime. There is nothing. There was an election on October 12th. And that election was won very clearly by Mr. Tchiroma. So the whole world, the whole country, the whole world knows Mr. Biya did not win this election. He stole this election, and the international community should make sure that Mr. Biya is pushed out of power, by putting pressure on him on the diplomatic side, to make sure that the results get to the result, becomes the result that Cameroonians are expecting. And that's what we are saying. And there are elements that show us that since Mr. Biya knows he lost the election, he knows the Cameroonian people will not let it go this time. So he's preparing for the worst. And that's where preparation for the genocide is coming in. Because he knows that it's coming. And he wants to do everything in his power to kill as many people from other ethnic groups as he can. And he's preparing for that right now. So Cameroonians should do what they have to do. They need to understand that they too have a role to play. It's not going to be all about the international community. They, as Cameroonians, need to...
Let's round up with the international community, and we'll talk about what Cameroonians can do and should be doing to prevent what you call a genocide. The international community, mostly those who advocate for democratic governance, have not recognized the elections. The EU skipped and said there is post-electoral violence, and they did not recognize the outcome of the elections. They didn't say either that the elections were rigged, but they did not congratulate Paul Biya for the elections. The US congratulated Paul Biya on his inauguration and not the elections. They definitely have their reasons and the evidence to support their decisions. So now, what evidence, because I don't expect that you think that those diplomats would watch this program and then make diplomatic make diplomatic decisions. They would definitely want more evidence. Have you approached them with any form of evidence to let them know what you are basing your arguments on?
Yeah, we are working with people in Congress, for instance, trying to make sure that they know what's happening in Cameroon. I have had a few meetings already in Congress, and I'm supposed to be back to Congress this week, sometime this week. So to make sure that this case continues. And when they understand what is happening, most congressmen and women take the right decision. They make that right decision. So our job is to make sure that everyone involved knows what's happening, understands what's being done currently, what is done by the Cameroonian government to kill as many people as they can. So that's our job, and that's what we are doing. We understand that there are historical ties between France and Cameroon. Those ties cannot be denied. And so that's the reason why we also push the French government to make sure that the Cameroonian people are helped. And that's the reason why we have this back and forth between France and Europe. We are also working with African governments. There are countries in Africa, we're discussing with those countries to make sure they understand the urgency of the moment. And we tell them they shouldn't sit back. This is the time the Cameroonian people need help, and they need to help the Cameroonian people. And so that's what we are doing at the international level to make sure that things are better at that level. But I want to insist on the Cameroonian people themselves, because no one will come and do their jobs for them. They need to understand that. I'm tired of hearing Cameroonians speak as if it's the international community that should come and do everything for them. There are things they can do. There are things.
What should Cameroonians be doing?
If you are on the ground, if you are in Cameroon, chances are you have been or will be contacted in the next few days, because we are running an inventory of people who can help. If you are from the army and you are in Cameroon, chances are someone has approached you about this. So when that happens, you need to make yourself available for the people of Cameroon. For the people of Cameroon, you need to make yourself available to fight this fight on behalf of the people of Cameroon. If you are in the diaspora, you are not able to go to the ground, to go on the ground there and then do the job that needs to be done there. You can help financially. There are logistical issues that we are currently facing. I told you there are about 10,000 people. This is a rainy season in Africa. So things need to be done. People need to eat. They need food. They need logistical tools to be able to advance normally. And those are some of the things that are holding us back, because otherwise we would be more advanced than this. I've approached so many people in the diaspora, those who have the ability to act on behalf of the people, but I'm sorry to say that nearly none of them wanted to have anything to do with this. Saying, okay, the government is going to deal with that. There is no government that's going to deal with that. If we don't help the Cameroonian people now, there's going to be a genocide in Cameroon. Mr. Biya has shown that he can do it. He's done it before, and he's willing and ready to do it again.
Yeah, let's break this down a little bit. Paul Atanganji and Paul Biya in the last 1 month have threatened the Cameroonian diaspora and claimed the Cameroonian diaspora wants to cause chaos in Cameroon. What is your message to members of the diaspora who believe that Atanganji Paul and Paul Biya are being true and are being honest that the diaspora wants to cause chaos in Cameroon?
Well, the people who are actually creating that fire are people like Paul Atanganji. He's the one benefiting from the war in the Nozo regions. They started that war. They refused because a few years back, actually less than a little over a year now, I personally approached the Minister Mbayu and Mr. Ngongo to propose a solution, because we brokered a deal, got people from the Amazonian fighters to actually work something out with the government. I'm talking about me. I'm the one who brought it to Minister Mbayu, and I'm the one who brought it to Mr. Ngongo. And I can tell you that they clearly and simply refuse to have any talk with the Amazonians. They told me that very clearly. So that tells me those are people who are not looking for peace. You can't say...
Why did you decide to talk to Minister Mbayu and Ngongo while you have the Prime Minister?
Well, Mr. Mbayu is in fact the lead person, talking for the government in this crisis. That's number one. And it's no secret that he's really, let me say it that way, he's the real Minister of External Relations in Cameroon because of his relation with Mr. Ngongo, who is also the real president of Cameroon. And so that's the reason of me knowing that. It's the reason why I went to the people I knew could make a decision and could make that decision as quickly as possible. I knew that if I went through normal channels, those channels really don't have enough power to make a decision. If you go through the Prime Minister, it's no secret in Cameroon that the Prime Minister is just Prime Minister in name. And so he has no real power and doesn't have the power to change things. Those are the facts. So we understand really how it's playing within the government and knowing where the real power sits. That's the reason why we went and talked to the people we knew had the power to make it happen quickly.
So where does the real power lie right now regarding this election?
You mean the elections?
Yeah, and the post-electoral violence and transition, everything around the elections and what is happening going forward for the genocide you're talking about.
Well, we know that Mr. Ndongo, Mr. Ayolo, Mrs. Biya, Mr. Frank Biya, Mr. Baboke are the people collectively deciding for the president as we speak. That we know. So this is the gang running Cameroon at this point. So when we say that order was given to shoot and kill Cameroonians, those orders are coming from that gang. Because they are the people running Cameroon as we speak. And everything must be done to make sure that this gang is taken out of power, is pushed out of power.
So let's come back to talk about the Cameroonians. You were focusing on the Cameroonian diaspora on this situation. What should they know is different now between this period and the Anglophone Amazonian crisis? And why should they consider themselves a critical stakeholder that needs to advance the protection of the citizens against the genocide you claim is being prepared?
Well, the diaspora must, they certainly know what's happening in Cameroon. We make sure they are informed. As soon as we know something, we share it with the diaspora. And this time is different. This time is different, first because of social media. You have a country where in 1984, there was no social media and things could not be shared quickly around the world. This time is different because in real time, we can see things really move quickly. That's number one. Number two, it's that the people of Cameroon are ready and willing for change. They did everything in their power to change the system, And that's the reason why they elected a new president on October 12th. And so that is different because now you have the people who control their votes and are willing. I just told you, we have over 10,000 people in Cameroon as we speak. And we continue to have more people signing up for this movement. And they are willing to help. The diaspora needs to understand that we cannot get to that point. And let me tell you, a fair share of the 10,000 people are from the army, from the Cameroonian army. So the need to understand, the diaspora needs to understand that this time is different. We cannot have so many people willing and ready to help the country, and the diaspora sits back hoping for help to come from the international community. We are working with the international community. We know they will do what needs to be done. We have confidence. We know what our burden is. Our burden is to make sure that they have the facts, that they understand very clearly on a daily basis what is happening on the ground, and that's what we do. But time is running out, and we say, the diaspora needs to help too. Make sure that we can advance quickly.
So, what should the diaspora be doing? You have explained the reasoning behind the diaspora's involvement, but what should they be doing to advance the movement that you seek to protect the genocide that is in gestation, according to your claims in this podcast today?
Information was given to the diaspora, to the whole world. There are those who could have access, more than us. So if you are one of them, when the information is shared, take it to the person, take it to the right person. Make that known to all men that there is someone in Cameroon confiscating power and planning to have a genocide in Cameroon. That should be known. The whole world should know that. And the diaspora is better equipped to make it happen. Number two, there are means needed. There are tools needed on the ground, because this is not just going to be about talking. It's also going to be about doing. We need to actually be doing the work. This is no time to talk. It's good to talk. It's important to talk. But as we speak right now, the most important thing is also to act. And that's why we are saying we need to make sure that they help as much as they can. They can help financially, which is important. If they have the equipment we need, specific equipment that is needed, we need that. We need that quickly. There are those who could have access to drones and things like that. If they can provide those, we'll be happy to have those as quickly as possible, but time is running out.
Somebody is watching you now and the person says, okay, I have this thing I need to support with. How does that person channel that to you?
Well, if it's financial help, there is a link, GoFundMe link that is out. If it's about the equipment, because as I mentioned, there are specific things we need, as equipment. We may not detail everything, but they can contact me directly. My number is 346-310-9673. Again, that's 346-310-9673. It's a US number, so if they are outside of the US, it's going to be +1 346-310-9673.
So I'll put these contacts, the GoFundMe link and Ben Modo's number in the pinned comment, so you can use them as you will. Remember that here Ben is talking about getting what he needs or what is needed to protect against a genocide that he believes is in gestation in Cameroon. And he believes that this is because of experience over the last 10 days and also what happened in 1984 during the coup d'etat in Cameroon. And also President Tchiroma has stated very clearly in his speech yesterday that there is a life-threatening and unlawful dictatorial state-based terrorism, state-based gangsterism, and also ethnic cleansing, political cleansing, regional cleansing, and religious cleansing being operated in Cameroon. So this is that time where if you believe that you need to protect human life, you need to step up your game. Many people have criticized Cameroon, the Cameroonian population, of not being involved in actions that would change the life of the nation. And when people say that people deserve the government they get, they forget to remember that a dictatorial government is not what the people want. But when the people want to change that dictatorial government, they should be given the means and the methods to change that government. At this point, I think it's necessary to put forces together, put intellect together, put resources together to see what can be done to advance the cause of justice and peace in Cameroon. Ben, do you think there could be peace in Cameroon without justice?
No, I mean, it's those two things, peace and justice, they go together. If people live in justice, chances are they will live in peace. Because when you know what is just and you know everything is fair, the system is fair, because justice brings fairness, so if everything is clear and justice exists, chances are that country will be a peaceful country. And that's the reason why we say that Mr. Biya has proven over the last 43 years that he is no apostle of peace. He is not someone who is capable of implementing peace. That's the reason why, we believe that he should step down or pushed aside.
Yeah, when you mentioned those you think are orchestrating the genocide, you mentioned Ngongo, Ayolo, and Chantal Biya.
Ayolo, Mrs. Biya, Mr. Biya's son, Frank Biya, Mr. Baboke, and lately there's been a movement towards the Secretary of Defense, Mr. Galaxy Toga, but he's really taking his orders from Mr. Ngongo. So those are the people currently running Cameroon and doing everything in their power to make sure that there is a genocide in Cameroon soon.
If you were to ask somebody on the street, I think the first name they'll call will be Atanga Ponji. Why don't you think he's part of that group?
Atanganji, the reason why I really don't put Galaxy Toga, Atanganji, Kechakutas in the group of deciders, decision makers, is because they take their orders from the first group. You have, I mentioned that, you have Ngongo, you have Mrs. Biya, you have Mr. Ayolo, and then you have Mr. Baboke, Mr. Frank Biya. Those are the people deciding in Cameroon. It's that gang, it's that committee that is really making decisions for Cameroon. Knowing that the most influential voice in that committee is Mrs. Biya's voice and Mr. Ngongo's voice. And so those are the people actually deciding. Now, Mr. Ngongo has people he's working very closely with. When it comes to defense, Mr. Ngongo's go-to person is Galaxy Toga. Remember that Galaxy Toga spent over 9 years as Mr. Ngongo's personal secretary. So, if you have Galaxy Toga, as Secretary of Defense, you know where the decision is coming from. And so that's number one. On the external relations side, you have Mr. Bayu over there, who is also a close and personal friend of Mr. Ngongo. And so that's the movement there. So you may have ministers that really are there just for the name. But real power in Cameroon channels through those people I just mentioned.
Yeah, I saw this communique today written in Garua. The communique says they understand that Atanganji Paul is organizing a sectoral meeting where he's going to visit the 3 northern regions, and the youths of these regions are rejecting this and they don't want him to come. And they give different reasons for the rejection of this visit. One is the arrest and detentions of citizens simply because they exercise their political opinions, and then a targeted arrest for voting. intimidation and harassment against family members and communities, and those of those who are aligned with opposition parties, especially the FSNC, and then the use of excessive force during community organizations and other violations that they believe is orchestrated by Paul Tanganji. So, do you think that the youth of the North are justified in their claim, and to what extent can someone say they are angry?
Well, I mean, if someone's not angry at what's happening in Cameroon right now, that maybe that person's not living in Cameroon. Because it's a total catastrophe. Someone like a Tanganji should make sure he does not go to places like the North, Adamawa, and Far North, simply because his presence alone, could turn into a full catastrophe over there. And the fact that he insists on going there tells you, okay, this is someone who does not understand what is happening. And it's symptomatic of the Biya's regime, because they, like I said before, they are arsonists. They start things, they start the fire, and for some reason, they tend to all believe that they are the solutions. No one cares in Cameroon about Mr. Atanganji. No one cares about him. The man has done so many bad things in the country, so many bad things to the people of Cameroon, that he's no more relevant. And I believe that in the next few days, few weeks, he's going to pay for that situation, for doing those things. And so we say to the Cameroonian people, help is on the way.
Yes. To what extent do you think that the Northerners, especially the youth of the North, feel that Cameroonians overwhelmingly voted for their father, their grandfather, their leader, and to some extent their child to be the president of Cameroon, but that victory is being seized from them by a group of people to whom their father gave power to in 1982?
Well, I wouldn't look at things that way, because some of the biggest scores that President Tchiroma got, he didn't get them from the northern regions. So in Douala, it was a full story. Can you believe that in Douala, Mr. Tchiroma got the actual results, gave Mr. Tchiroma over 87% of the vote? That was a punishment from Douala to the Biya's regime, And so I don't look at things that way. I don't think that this was a regional thing. The people who are trying to make it a regional thing are Mr. Biya and his gang. They are the ones trying to make it look as something between Northerners and so forth. But I don't buy that. I believe that the Cameroonian people gave Mr. Tchiroma a mandate, and I believe that, based on the results, Mr. Tchiroma won in 9 of the 10 regions of Cameroon. 9 of them. And we simply believe that when there is an election and you are the winner, you should be allowed to be the president.
So let's switch gears and talk about one last thing. There is an announcement that a certain group called, the name is in French, Force de Légitime Défense du Cameroun has been created, and that Force de Légitime Défense du Cameroun has as mission to protect the oncoming genocide, as you claim, and also re-establish the truth or the verdict from the ballot box. Do you have any idea what this FLDC is all about?
Yeah, those are actually the people I've been talking about, the people on the ground, who need logistics. And so they are ready, willing, capable of helping the Cameroonian people. And they are standing by, waiting for things to start. By all means, a genocide will be prevented in Cameroon. There will not be another genocide in Cameroon. There will not be another genocide in Africa, at least as far as Cameroon is concerned. So what Mr. Biya and his regime are preparing, they need to understand that it will not work. They need to understand. And if they are wise, they should stop now. And they should do the right thing, because the Cameroonian people will not let that happen. And those forces are there to make sure that the genocide does not take place.
What if you are accused of starting a rebellion in Cameroon? Would you say that is a faulty accusation?
Well, the regime in Cameroon can say what they want. They know they are not the solution. They know they've been killing Cameroonians, unarmed Cameroonians. And I believe that people around the world, all people have the right for self-defense. You cannot be in your house and, you are attacked by a gangster, comes in your place and tries to kill you. That gives you the right for self-defense. And that's what the Cameroonian people is doing. We saw the Biya regime in 1984 when they killed Northerners by thousands. They jailed Northerners by thousands. We saw the Biya's regime basically killing hundreds of people 10 days ago. We see the orders from the Biya's regime giving munitions to part of the army based on their origin, where they're coming from. If you are a soldier and you're coming from the South region, which is the president's region, the part of the center region, you will have munitions, and those munitions are given to you, so you can kill the people who protest against Mr. Biya. If you are a soldier from one of the other 8 or 9 regions, well, you don't have munitions. That is happening as we speak. We talked about it. Everybody knows about it. What could be the reason for a government that is supposed to be a government of the people to give munitions to only people from their ethnic group and not give munitions to other people? What could reasonably be the reason?
Ben, I know I have testimony from someone that corroborates what you're saying about giving munition to one set of tribal people. But beyond these testimonies, do you have any other evidence to support this? Because it is raising the temperature to the level of a genocide, and we need to be very careful. We need to be very careful when we do that.
We are saying very simply, we are not talking about things coming from the space. We are saying, let us look at the facts. One, is Mr. Biya and his regime capable of doing that? Yes, they are. Yes, they are. And how do we know that they are?
That is just being inferred, which is not in fact, which could not be in fact reality.
It's in fact, because let's look at history. 1984, we saw Mr. Biya and his regime kill Northerners, kill them, arrest them.
But those who were tried in court, and decided and proven guilty.
No, they take a simple fact. Mr. Tchiroma went to jail for 7 years.
Correct. Correct.
That's only one case.
That is an exception. We know about people like Musa Yaya that were tried and sentenced.
This is no exception. I'm saying
the exception should not make the rule.
Thousands of Northerners were killed, buried in outside, without knowledge of where they were buried. Their families until today do not know where they went.
So are you saying that is the only basis on which you laid a claim of a genocide because it happened in 1984 is going to happen again in 2025?
See, you have to follow here. We are saying, in order to know if there is a genocide, number one, is the person capable of doing that? You have to reach that conclusion. Number two, are steps being taken by the person to make it happen? Number three, has the person started what they are planning? And we have 3 instances. I just said, historically, Mr. Biya did it, so we know he can do it. Number two, Has he taken steps to make it happen? Yes. He's given munitions to only people from his region and part of the center region. He has done it as we speak. Munitions. You have a full army and you choose to give munitions just to people from your ethnic group. And number 3, he started acting on it. How do we know that? We look at the dead, the dead people that disappeared. And when we look at the list of soldiers who fired those bullets, what do we see? Not a single one from another region. All of them are coming from, 90% of them are coming from the president's region, and about 10% of them are coming from the center region.
Do you mean you have the list of deployments of all the military personnel who were in Douala or across the country on that particular day?
We have a list of all those who fired bullets. And how did we get that list? Their own colleagues didn't understand what was going on. The other soldiers who knew they had no munitions, they were so shocked when they discovered that, hey, this guy has munitions. And so that's how we build that list. And we have that list available. I can send it to you as we speak. So you see it. We are not talking about views of the spirit. No, we are talking about real things taking place in Cameroon as we speak. And when I send you that list, just give me a minute for me to forward the list to you. So I just
It'll be interesting to see the list.
I just sent you the list. Now, when you look at that list, you will see very clearly that most people, so the list, you have the day it happened, you have where it happened. And how did we get these? It's their own colleagues from other regions, their own soldiers like them, who were not aware that some people within the army had munitions. And they are the ones who came out and said, okay, listen, something funny is happening here. They told us munitions don't exist, and then they are only equipping part of the army. And the only, the factor that is being used to determine who will get munitions and who will not get munitions is the origin. What does that tell you? What could be the rationale for a government of the people? A government that says they are for the people, of the people. What could be the reason why they would give munitions only to a group of people?
For full transparency, I'm going to publish this list as a visual on this video so everyone can see it. Do you give your consent for that? Yeah, so you are sure that this list is accurate and it's not a manipulation against the people?
I'm telling you that those on that list are the people who fired bullets. And as you will see, and the people watching us will see, 90% of them are from one region. 90% of them. And that was 10 days ago. We continue to receive reports from soldiers, military officers, complaining about the fact that only people from the south region and part of the center region continue to receive munitions as we speak.
Munitions would mean bullets, live bullets that are used in the weapons.
Exactly. So what could be the reason for them to equip soldiers based on their origin? Why would they do that?
Ben Modo, it's always a pleasure talking with you on the Beyond Africa podcast.
Thanks for having me.
Can you give your last word to Cameroonians?
Well, Cameroonians should see for themselves that Mr. Biya has decided to turn a peaceful country into a real mess. For 43 years, Mr. Biya and his regime have been unable to find solutions for Cameroonians. And now he has decided to kill Cameroonians, to go through cleansing, ethnic cleansing. And he's preparing that. We know he's done that before. We know he did it about 10 days ago. We know he's, as we speak, organizing to continue to equip soldiers from his ethnic group. Based on all those facts and his willingness, his determination not to cede power to the rightful winner of last election, we know Mr. Biya is preparing a genocide. And we invite Cameroonians all around the world, we invite the international community to step up. We cannot give Mr. Biya a chance to have a genocide in Cameroon. The last time the people, the international community looked the other way was in 1994. People were preparing for a genocide. In the way the Biya's regime is speaking, doing the same thing the Biya's regime is doing, in less than 100 days, more than 1 million Rwandans lost their lives. Mr. Biya is clearly taking from that playbook, trying to repeat something he's capable of doing, something he's done before. And the people of Cameroon and the international community should not look the other way. We should not let this happen this time.
Thank you very much, Ben Modo, for spending time with the Beyond Africa podcast. It's always a pleasure talking to you. You always communicate in a way that sounds so convincing. And sometimes even somebody doesn't believe what you're saying, the person likes to listen and watch you. So ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for spending time with us. Ben Modo has raised an alarm that sounds very critical and important for the survival of a nation and the survival of Africa. It is time to ensure that even if this alarm is not timely, it is time to make sure that you put your guard, stay awake, and ensure and contribute to avoiding a situation that could escalate into another genocide in Africa. No one doubts that there is post-electoral conflict in Cameroon, and no one doubts that Cameroon's military, especially the top hierarchy, is highly tribalized and very loyal to the leaders. Therefore, the ingredients of abuse, the ingredients of cleansing, the ingredients of genocide could be very visible for anyone who is watching and who is paying keen attention. It is important that you all strive as much as possible to avoid the escalation of a post-electoral conflict into a conflict that could generate into a genocide. That will not be good for humanity, it will not be good for Cameroon, it will not be good for us as individuals. Thank you for watching the Beyond Africa podcast and for staying the course with us. See you in our next episode. I have been your host, Ngalim Bernard.